Welcome to the Championship Fantasy Football League podcast. Here is your host, Shipwreck's crew.
Welcome, guys. I'm back, and on today. Wait, do you hear something? You know what that was? That was Matthew getting his ass beat by me. Absolutely destroyed you, Matthew. Your team was sad and pathetic, and you'll blame it on the buys, but we both know what the real case is. My team, way better than your shitty ass team.
Pools update.
Here we are, the pool. Now, I can't remember the last time we talked about this. I've been out a few weeks. My apologies. But as you can see here, we lost the last three gentlemen playing in this game. Washington, Chess, and Sebastian all lose out in week 6. We didn't even make it halfway, guys, and we lost everybody in the survival pool. That's why we love and that's why we hate the NFL. But congrats to these three gentlemen. They will be splitting that prize 3 ways, kind of unfortunately, but it is what it is. You guys are still winners, so congrats. All right. Well, the survival pool is done. So let's see where we're at with the confidence pool, aka Pick'em. So Nick still at the top. Good job, Nick. Doing something right this year. 77 guessed correctly. Next behind him is Dave Fowl with 74. I'm back behind him with 73. And then we got Chess at 70. And then people are kind of trailing off after that. They're still in it. They're still participating. Good for you guys. The rest of y'all that aren't participating, you suck. You suck. Participate. So that's where we're at the Pick'em. We are almost halfway through the Pick'em, so still a ways to go on this. Anyone can honestly still win this thing, except for you, Marshall, except for you, Washington, except for you, Mr. Andrew Hummel, and Ryan. Y'all suck.
Standings update.
Alright, so we are getting pretty close to playoff time, guys. Believe it or not. We have 8 weeks in the books. It's week 9. We got this week, week 9, week 10, week 11, and week 12. Four more weeks for those that counting of the regular season left. So let's take a quick look at the playoffs. If the playoffs were to end today over here in Digital GM, we got a tie between me and Michael here. I believe, I don't know, I think I destroyed Michael. I think so. Sounds right. So I would take the division in our division, and then we would have DP Hit Squad or Marshall taking the division on the other side at a measly 8-8. You guys should be very upset with yourselves over there in Vinegar Strokes. What are you guys doing over there? Get your shit together. But Michael definitely the wild card, or I'm the wild card. But we got Dave, Fowl, Marshall, myself, or Michael looking like the leaders for the playoffs on this side. Sebastian's got some ground to make up, but it's not looking so good for him. It kind of already started steps for building towards next year, which is great because we're a keeper league now, so you can actually still have fun playing fantasy football, even though this year might be over for you. Sebastian just made a trade, I think, so he's kind of working on solidifying his wide receivers for next year before the year even starts. So interesting strategy there. Ryan may be looking to the future as well over here. So it's going to be fun to see what this league does as the weeks go by. Armchair quarterback looking at the standings. Matthew taking that division, and then Andrew and Washington fighting it out for the other spot in the other division, and then you still got Chess there looking for a wild card spot. At this point, I think it's pretty safe to say Nick and Matt Guerra are out of it, looking to build towards next year. I know Mr. Nick over there is building draft. He's building draft pick stockpile over there. His team looks like a bunch of youngins. He's got a ton of youngins on the roster. So he's looking towards next year already, unfortunately. But yeah, that's where we sit at the standings. Now let me quickly pop over to the power ranks, the thing I like to look at. I think my efficiency rating has gone way down. What? Look at me. I'm in second still. Good for me. 88.8% efficiency rating. I thought after that Amari Cooper on the bench, that would have hurt me, but not too bad. Michael still proving that you might be the best manager here in the league. Maybe. That's what the stats say. Hard to argue with the stats, so good job, Michael. Staying on top of that efficiency rating all year, getting the most out of his team. Team's really coming around. Getting a little worried, but as always, Fantasy's finest kind of leading by example here. If we go down, Ryan down there with the sizable gap, 75.9%. The next closest is Washington with 81. Ryan just not cutting it as a manager this year. I don't know what it is. Young kid had so much promise, and we may be seeing him just go right in the middle of his prime. It's sad, really. But that's pretty much it there for that. Let's quickly look at the most points scored this year. Ooh, I am catching up to you, Matt. After that sad week you put up and the monster week I put up, I am right there behind you, 11 points behind Matt for the most points scored. Pretty big gap after that with the other Haynes at 793. And then let's look down at the bottoms, the turds of the league. DP, Hit Squad, talking a lot of shit to Nick, but he has scored the least amount of points this year. Interesting. And then there's Nick there with 644 down in the dumpster with Ryan as well. Definitely the saddest bunch of the league right there, nice and bundled up close to each other. But that's really it here for this, so let's move on to the matchups from last week.
Weekly recap.
All right, so it was week 8 last week. Missed a couple weeks here, but as you can see, I beat Mr. Andrew here with his team. Dak Prescott, just not cutting it for him last week. I was a little worried there after the Adam Thielen, Jerick McKinnon start for the London games, putting out a big start for him. But I was able to keep up with his team. Russell Wilson playing out of his mind. Zeke, knowing that he was going to get suspended, was playing out of his mind too. Those two guys really lifted my team up, but really no terrible performances on my side. Seahawks defense, 5 points. Great game, big shootout. Defense didn't quite live up to expectations there against Mr. Deshaun Watson. Not even Matt Prater with 20 points could save Andrew's team this week, but still finished top 6. Good performance from Andrew. Just a tough luck going up against someone that scored 120 points this past week. And there's DP Hit Squad scoring 110. Speaking of 100-point performances, that was what? That's like 1/6 of his points all season in one game after 8 weeks. Not too shabby there. Led heavily by Juju Smith-Schuster's huge game that he had. Bengals defense played pretty good with some good performance from the kicker and the quarterback. After losing Aaron Rodgers, as you can see, quarterback losing that, not too big of a deal. I think with Tyrod and Andy Dalton, he should be okay. And then the cleansing 50-point pooper. What is this, Sebastian? What is this? Every time you look at Sebastian's team, you think maybe, just maybe, he might turn it around. But this wide receiver strategy just not working out for him in our standard league. So Sebastian may be out of the playoffs, and DP's still hanging in there. Ryan, 65 points. He's looking like he's pretty much done. Deshaun Watson pretty much was almost half his team's points. But unfortunately today we got the news that Deshaun Watson tore his ACL in practice. Just terrible luck for the Texans. Right when you started to get excited about watching this Texans offense, we got fucking Tom Savage again. Oh well, it is what it is. Sad end to what was looking like a good, bright start for Deshaun Watson. Young, bright quarterback in this league. And speaking of young, bright quarterbacks, we got Carson Wentz on the other side on Michael's team, scoring 17, kind of pedestrian for him so far, if you compare it to what he scored the rest of the year. But Michael, much like his brother, has these 3 beastly running backs kind of chugging his team along, piecing together the wide receiver position, and then captain consistency, Zach Ertz all year, just been killing it. And a monster performance from the Eagles defense. Looks like one of the better defenses in the league this year. So very interesting team Michael's built over here. One that's definitely going to be in contention, which is which couldn't have been said these past couple of years for Michael. Matthew barely loses to Nick. Nick gets a win. He gets a double win for finishing in the top 6. He's off the 0-for streak. So congrats, Nick. You got your wins. Now you can really settle in for next season. But how did he get his W? Well, Will Fuller, 25 points. That was huge. Minnesota's Vikings defense had a decent performance. Sad for Will Fuller, sad for DeAndre Hopkins owners. Matt was a Hopkins owner during this game. 28 points for Hopkins, 25 for Fuller. We saw the monster points from Deshaun Watson. What's going to happen to these guys? They're probably not going to be producing like they were, unfortunately, which is sad for fantasy football. But back over to this game, Matthew's team brutalized by the bye weeks. Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, both on bye this past week. He's sticking Wendell Smallwood and Jalen Richard in there at running back. Wasn't enough to keep his team high enough to beat Mr. Nick here. But Matt, you knew this day was coming. You knew it was coming. Unfortunately, it came against Nick. So Nick has something to hold above your head now. Congrats, Nick. Moving on over to Marshall versus Chess. You know what? The Chiefs players you think would be scoring all the points for Chess over here didn't have that much of a day. Tyreek Hill 1.8, Alex Smith 13.38, Kareem Hunt 6.8. So you think, oh, not going to do so well. Nay. Harrison Butker 21.8 points from the kicker, 19 points from Travis Kelce. As we've seen, as the Chiefs go, Chess goes. So, he might be pretty hard to beat as the way the Chiefs offense is playing this year, but obviously we got, not this week, Chiefs played Dallas, and they have a bye week after that. So congratulations to whatever motherfucker plays Chess next week, because you're going to win. Congrats. Marshall, 46 points, man. Come on, dude. 0 from Snead. Total disappointment. I feel you on that one. I had high hopes for Snead this year, but Snead, 0 points. Just hasn't been a factor. Hunter Henry, right when you thought you could start trusting Hunter Henry, he stabs you in the back. I don't get what the Chargers are doing over there. Brandon Cooks doesn't do much. The other running backs don't do much. Even Lev Bell, pedestrian 12. Just a total fucking pooper by Marshall's team here. His team seems to be one of those that when it's good, it's really good, and when it's not good, it is not so good. And then finally, the last matchup of the week, we have Washington versus Matt. Matt scores a respectable 88 points, but it's not enough to beat Daryl. Daryl got a nice performance from Melvin Gordon on like 1 carry for 80 yards and a touchdown. That makes your day right there. And then also got a nice day from Jimmy Graham, who we recently traded for. And then, you look over at Matt's team and you start to feel from a little bit. Drew Brees just hasn't been doing it this year. They've been running the ball so much. Hasn't really been throwing those touchdown passes. Hasn't been throwing those big yardage games, but still a pretty decent player. Got okay production from the running backs. Pierre Garçon got hurt early in this one, but the rest of his team performed well. Marvin Jones, Ted Ginn, Rob Gronkowski, Justin Tucker, Broncos D. He's trying to piece something together, and it's just not quite enough. Seems like every week for him. Tough luck here. He's got some good young pieces on this squad, so probably start looking to build toward next year. But that's it for this week's games. Let's go on to the transactions, because holy fuck, there was a lot of them this week with Bipocalypse.
Transaction report.
Alright guys, quick look at the transactions here. Don't want to bore you too much. I dropped a bonanza amount of money down for Mr. Alfred Morris. 52, getting him. I think he should be the guy there in Dallas while Zeke serves his suspension. Matt Garrett took a chance on McFadden with 35. Rod Smith for 3 from Matthew, who he ended up dropping. And then we got some little ones here and there, but really Matthew fucking gets a steal with Kenyon Drake. I should have been smarter. All you motherfuckers, I would hope someone else put something in on Kenyon Drake, who could be the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins. I know I should have put a backup. I had a backup. I just didn't think once I got Morris, I wouldn't have enough fab to pick up Drake, but apparently no one put in any bids on Drake. So he goes free to Matthew. You're lucky I had to fucking work. Fuck you, work. Robbed me of Kenyon Drake. I hope he doesn't become anything because you're gonna get to keep him for a 10th rounder. From what I don't know about you guys, but from what I've watched of Kenyon Drake, he hasn't gotten the ball much, but when he does, he seems impressive. So that offense is kind of a mess. But if Kenyon Drake, he might be better than a lot of people think. So I'm interested to see how that goes over there in Miami. And then, holy crap, look at all these ad drops. Absolutely ridiculous. Bipocalypse, causing people to pick up players that they normally would never start. We also had some trades mixed in there. Let's pop over to some of these ones. Nick gives up the Ravens defense and his 15th, so last pick, for Marshall's 7th round pick. So Nick gives up a defense that's been playing one of the better defenses in the league this year. He gets a 7th round pick next year. 7th rounder is pretty valuable in my opinion. So a good pickup there from Nick. Another trade, I traded CJ Anderson to Vicious and Delicious Ryan for Paul Richardson. Honestly, I'm just fed up with CJ Anderson. Probably should have got more for him, but I was just fucking done with him. Paul Richardson, I can start him this week. I needed a starter with all these buys. He's been impressive this year. I think he's surprisingly high in the rankings if you look it up. I have Russell Wilson that kind of factored in as well, and he's a 10th round keeper if he ends up actually becoming the star everyone thought Paul Richardson was going to be when he was drafted so high. So that's my thinking behind it. Y'all probably think I'm an idiot for doing that one. That's all right. But this trade was a very nice trade. Matthew I need to sit down with you, Matt, and you can tell me how you're pulling all these fucking trades off, because Matthew gives up DeAndre Hopkins and his 11th round pick, and he receives Julio Jones, who now we just lost Deshaun Watson, so Hopkins probably reverts back to his old self. And then Julio, who hasn't been great this year, the talent's still there. He's going to turn it around, at least in my opinion. But he also, not only does he get Julio, that in itself, 11th and Hopkins for Julio would almost be fair trade, but he gets a 5th round pick from Seb back also. That's huge. Just absolutely amazing there. I know Seb was doing it so he could keep Hopkins, I believe, in the 3rd next year. Maybe that's what, Seb's obviously thinking maybe his season's done, so that's why he does that. But just this year, Matt definitely wins that trade. And next year, Matt still benefits from that trade. So win-win for Matt. Sebastian, in his eyes, probably gets a win too there. And then Nick, just kind of a sneaky pickup here, picks up Andrew Luck, stash on his team for next season. Andrew Luck was drafted really late, so that could be a bargain stash for him next year. Looking like Nick might be, it's going to be really interesting to see what his team looks like after next year's draft. But that's it for the transactions. Let's move on to the games that are going on right now.
Thursday recap.
All right, so I'm zipping forward to this week's matchups. Now, the games are currently still going. Looks like there's 41 seconds in the 3rd quarter. Jets are up 24-7. Josh McCown has Marshall out to a 16.84 lead. I think as long as McCown gets Marshall, another 4 or 5 points, I think he's going to be feeling pretty good about his start there. Does anyone else got anybody going? Here we go, DP. Oh, man, look at that. What are you doing, Wash? Kelvin Benjamin didn't play tonight. Didn't play. What are you doing? Are you trying to lose? So he's going to get the goose egg there from Mr. Kelvin Benjamin. Meanwhile, Dave has 13.24 from Tyrod. Probably hoping for some more. Good chance he gets some garbage time production here pretty soon. Should be a fairly decent start for his day. Michael has two players going. He's got the kicker for the Bills, and he's got LaShawn McCoy. And Shady has not done much tonight. The Jets defense is all over him. And Hauschka with his one extra point. Not a good start there. Can't say I'm not too sad about that, though. And we have one last player going right now, Austin Safarian Jenkins for Mr. Andrew over here. Not sure why he didn't start Jack Doyle against that Texans defense. He might end up regretting that one. But ASJ with 2 points so far, not the start he's looking for. Well, that is it, guys, for this week's pod.
Thank you for watching the CFFL podcast. See you next time, bitches!